What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. And I love stories like this, where you have a big name director that's probably highly sought after right now, basically saying, you know what? Nah, I'm not interested in doing a Marvel movie. I'm not interested in doing some kind of a big name project, that you could slap my name on the side of and say, from the creator of John Wick. This guy's just going to sit back and do his own thing. And I absolutely love it. Okay. As you can see on this article from the Direct, John Wick 4 director shares hesitancy about directing Marvel movie. Let's go ahead and check out this article real quick. John Wick Chapter 4 director Chad Stahelski revealed why he is now hesitant to direct anything in the MCU. The beloved stuntman turned director has found plenty of success in the Keanu Reeves-led John Wick films, with that franchise turning into a bit of cinematic universe in its own right. However, it seems Stahelski was once eyeing another franchise in the Marvel Studios MCU. The filmmaker has talked about wanting to work with the super-powered brand in the past, specifically calling out the idea of directing a Blade movie. Can you imagine how that would look, okay, with the John Wick style action, translated over into a Blade film? All right. We know how the originals with Wesley Snipes, those were all about kung fu, high powered, super duper bloody action. That's exactly what we get from John Wick in a lot of ways. I think that would have been absolutely incredible. But as we see right here, it says, in the time since then, it seems as though the director's mind changed about hopping aboard the Marvel IP train. No MCU for John Wick's Chad Stahelski. So let's go ahead and see what he had to say. When asked about his Blade pitch to Marvel Studios, the John Wick filmmaker remarked that he was one of many that brought in takes of it, but it ultimately did not go anywhere. So this guy, Kleinfeld, said, you played well or potentially played in the world of IP before, right? You pitched Blade to Marvel Studios. And Chad says, I was one of many that brought in takes of it, sure. That's the one property I always thought was fascinating. I'm always fascinated by vampire and martial arts, so it seemed a good mix. Then on the subject of if he would want to play in that super-powered world with any other characters, Stahelski said Blade was probably his favorite kick out of that. However, he now realizes there are people that get that IP better than me. I like that statement right there, okay? He's basically saying, hey, look, I don't really get the Blade thing 100%. I like the kung fu, I like the vampires, but that's kind of where it stopped. Okay. And there are people that get it better than I do. All right. He says, honestly, Blade was probably my favorite kick out of that. But look, I'm a big fan of that genre. I love Batman. I love the Marvel world. I love the first Iron Man to death. I love James Gunn's first Guardians to death. These are all milestones. I think in cinema, I just also think that there are people that get that IP better than me. I know my sweet spot. I do better when there are no limits. I do better when I can kind of bend the rules. I like to be a little bit more subversive. So it's kind of weird. Then he says, maybe, even up to 4 or 5 years ago, I would have pretty much taken that shot, I think. Now, I've kind of hopefully evolved as a filmmaker. I don't know. I feel comfortable in creating things. I feel comfortable working with other people to try and build something. Look, what I'm saying is there's great IP out there. There are people already doing it, I'm going to swing for the cheap seats over here. I'm going to go big and try to make our own stuff. Someone's got to keep trying to get some new IP in the game. I think I'm going to go try that for a little while. I absolutely love this part right here. The creator in me, right? The guy that creates stuff of his own. I love hearing people saying, hey, I just don't want to piggyback on somebody else's work. Okay. We need people still creating new IP, still creating the next John Wick, the next big franchise, okay? We need guys that can do that kind of stuff, creating new things. That's what they used to do back in the 80s, okay? Back in the 70s and the 80s and even into the 90s. You had people still inventing, still creating. Hey, let's get new characters. Let's tell new stories. Some will work, some won't. That's fine, okay? We'll like the stuff that works. The other stuff just gets discarded into the wasteland, all right? But there's nothing wrong with that, all right? People learn lessons and they build upon their failures as well as their successes, and they move forward. That's what this guy's talking about. Somebody's got to keep trying to invent new things. And another reason I'm so glad he did this is because Marvel, okay? Marvel would have did some of that BS like they did when they were talking about on the previous video that I did, I'll link above, where it's like, oh, we direct the movies, okay? We're the directors. They would have gotten this guy to shoot an amazing film, probably would have been badass, all right? Probably would have been amazing, all right? And then they would have jumped into the editing bay and edited the movie the way that they wanted to do it, all right? And then churned out some Quantum Mania crap. All right. So I'm glad that this guy is like, nah, I'm going to stay away from that and I'm going to do my own thing. Love it. As it says down here, he found his own MCU. Okay. He finds his own MCU that he doesn't have to be beholden to anybody, all right? Except the current fans that he has. He just has to satisfy those people. He doesn't have to satisfy some kind of, oh, I have this big giant book about this thick of all the previous works that have been done in the past from this particular IP. No, I'm creating the IP as I go forward. But the John Wick filmmaker seems to feel better off playing in his own playground, and it has been fruitful for him to do so. The John Wick franchise, which the director has been a part of since the beginning, has grown to become one of the most beloved batches of action films ever, and he has seen it grow from a single movie to now 4 mainline films, an upcoming spin-off movie, and a streaming prequel series, stretching its narrative tendrils in the way that the super-powered franchises of Marvel and DC have. Exactly. He gets to create and play around in his thing that he created, that he started off and he created from the very beginning. And now he gets to go ahead and say, okay, let's build this thing out. Let's do a streaming series. I think there's like comic books out there. All right. I haven't read them, but I've heard there's comic books out there for John Wick or the John Wick Universe. Okay. They're expanding this, and that's what we need. We need new franchises. Okay. We need people to create and continue to build brand new stuff. That's what culture is all about. I guarantee you. John Wick is going to be one of the cultural touchstones of this particular generation. People will look back and say, yeah, this particular generation of filmmaking, this was all about the comic book movie, okay? But the one unique IP that came out of this was John Wick, all right? And its own universe. And who knows where this thing is going to go? You guys might be seeing the birthplace of an amazing universe that stretches for decades upon decades, all right? And this guy is saying, no, I'd rather do that than just kind of piggyback on somebody else's work, okay? All the comic book movies, and there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get it twisted. There's nothing wrong with, building out the comic book universe on film, okay? There's nothing wrong with that, or on television. Nothing wrong with that at all, okay? The way they're doing it, there's some issues, okay? But there's nothing wrong in and of itself, but you also have to have new stuff coming alongside of that, all right? That's what defines your generation, because comic books, the stories that they're telling are going back 20, 30, 40 years, okay? Infinity Saga, that's going back to the early 90s, all right? So those stories now coming into the forefront now, great. But you still have to create new stuff, all right? And I'm so glad to hear that this guy is saying, yeah, I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to continue to create stuff for me and for what I want to do, all right? And, build this out for the fans of this franchise. We need more of that. That would really go a long way to making Hollywood films on television and everything a whole lot better. Anyway, folks, what do you think about that? That's just real quick. I wanted to give my comments on that. I love hearing this stuff as a creative myself. I love to hear guys saying, nah, I'm going to create my own stuff. I'm not here to try to piggyback off of Marvel or piggyback off of DC or any of these other big name IPs, okay? I'm going to build my own Star Wars. I'm going to build my own Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what I'm going to do. That's what this guy is talking about, and I love it. But you guys go ahead, jump down in the comments. Let me know what you think about that, and thanks for watching. See you next time.